Hello and welcome to another edition of The Beam. I'm Victor Matthias. The outbreak of the coronavirus brought the world to its knees, halting business, movements, travel, and many other human endeavor. One of such is the UN Sustainable Development Goals adopted by all UN member states in 2015 to provide a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet. Today on the program, we will take a look at how Nigeria has fared in implementing the SDGs during this period. But let's first take a look at what made the trends in the past week.
Bayern Munich claimed their sixth Champions League title on Sunday, setting a record in the process. The Bundesliga giants became the first side to win the trophy after winning every single game in the campaign. Hansi Flick's men tallied a perfect haul of 18 points from the 6 group games as they racked up a remarkable plus 19 goal difference. The Nigerian Bar Association withdrew its invitation to Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai after threats by some lawyers
You can be a part of the conversation. Just tweet at us at Channels TV, at Channels Beam, as well as Victor_MBIDI, and you can also use the hashtags SDGs implementation and Channels Beam. Well, joining us to look at today's topic, we have Dr. Bala Yusuf. He is a development economist by training and currently serves as the Senior Technical Advisor to the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals. He joins us from our Abuja studios. Doctor, it's a pleasure to have you on the program today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. We also have joining us via Skype from Yola, the Adamawa State capital, Hamzat Lawal. He is an anti-corruption activist. He is the initiator of Follow the Money and the founder of Connected Development, a non-profit organization. He is also a global Malala Fund education champion working to accelerate girls' education in northeast Nigeria. He joins us via Skype from Yola, like I said earlier, on the Adamawa State capital. Hamzat, it's a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me, Victor.
Indeed, you're welcome. But let me just go back to our Abuja studio where we have Dr. Bala standing by to answer some of these questions. How would you say we have fared, or what has been done, during this period with the pandemic in terms of implementing the SDGs?
Okay, thank you very much, Victor. Like you're very much aware, following the adoption of the 2030 agenda by world leaders in September 2015, Nigeria acted very quickly in the overall implementation of the SDGs. And within our implementation framework, the first 5 years is that of building on existing foundations and sensitization and advocacy for the 17 SDGs, 169 targets, and 230 key performance indicators. So just as we commenced the decade of action, which means the last 10 years into the implementation of the SDGs in Nigeria, by February, Nigeria recorded its first index case for COVID-19. And that has come not only to challenge the health system, but also the overall socio-economic development of Nigeria, and by extension, the implementation of the global goals. So we've seen health system being challenged. More investments are needed to help curtail not only COVID-19 pandemic, but other health-related SDGs. As you're very much aware, SDG 3 talks about quality health and well-being, and about 8 targets and about 12 indicators are embedded in that.
Sorry, Dr.
And
Burden.
therefore,
Sorry
the health
to burden,
system.
Doctor. Sorry to burden you, because I was going to come in. I was actually going to hop on that because the pandemic, of course, concerns health issues. And if you see the way things have been going on, we've been having numbers, and it took a bit of time before we had a lot of testing centers around the country. So, especially in the health sector now, what is the situation? Because if we follow by, I mean, even the SGF said he didn't know that the health situation in the country is as bad as it is.
No, I mean, even during the before the implementation of the SDGs, we've implemented the Millennium Development Goals, which there are about four out of the eight Millennium Development Goals. About three of them are directly related to health sector, and we've known about the challenges, especially at the primary healthcare level in Nigeria. So what the COVID-19 has just done is to further challenge us in terms of what we need to do to increase investment and ensure that people get access to basic healthcare services at the level that is it's most needed, that is at the basic healthcare level. And therefore, with COVID-19 taking more resources from the sector and if you like, diverting attention from other health challenges to just addressing the COVID challenge has made it even more challenging, because all of the resources that we have at the moment are both human and material are channeled towards the COVID-19 pandemic. Obviously, the imminent lockdown has also affected socio-economic development, and a majority of Nigerians operate within the informal sector, and that imminent lockdown and restriction in movements have also compounded that challenge.
All right, let me
so
hold
it
you
is
there
now
for,
clear that we need to.
Let me hold you for a bit. I'll come back to you to continue on what is clear that we need to do moving forward. But let me bring Hamzat, who is joining us via Skype from Yola. Well, Hamzat, in your own estimation, while you follow the money and all of those things, how would you say Nigeria has fared during this period in terms of implementing the SDGs, of course?
I would say that as much as the pandemic has devastated the country and affected us both health-wise, when you look at our economy and humanitarian-wise, we've seen greater interest and we've seen greater awareness around personal hygiene. So today you see a lot of people washing their hands using soap. And this has to do with access to water, sanitation, and hygiene. That's the SDG Goal 6. Even in as much as we know that a lot of grassroots communities do not have access to clean and potable drinking water. I'm a bit worried. I'm worried because this year is the Decade of Action year. And what this means is we've implemented SDG for 5 years and we have 10 years to go by 2030. And if you look at it, and I'll take it from the perspective of the last 5 years, and really, can we measure how Nigeria have fared and how much resources have gone into SDGs, and are we enjoying value for money? And are we actually reducing inequality? Are we promoting gender inclusiveness? Today, Nigeria has over 10 million out of school children. And with this pandemic, so what it tells you is there's likelihood that after the pandemic, a lot of girls that are meant to go back to school would find themselves in husband house. And these are underage girls that would not be able to finish secondary school. So the pandemic has really hit us hard. And so far, in as much as I must also recognize the fact that our government have submitted the voluntary report to the high-level panel. But when it comes to the ground, when it comes to the grassroots, and when it comes to Nigeria as a whole, how have we fared? Really, we've not really fared well in terms of even accelerating progress around SDGs, or even ensuring that we put in place mechanism using the pandemic as a yardstick to measure and to accelerate and implement some of these measures.
All right.
Are we looking at education? I know some states.
Okay, so I mean, I was going to even ask: is there any a form of collaboration, between maybe the government and private sector, or what would I put it? Yeah, like private sector to follow the implementation maybe together so that it goes as planned.
The slogan of the SDGs is leaving no one behind. I'm aware that there's an organized private sector on SDGs that engage the office of the president through his SSA. And they've been that collaboration between the private sector, even the organized civil society group, because we had a meeting before the pandemic, where they've formed a steering committee on the implementation, working closely with government. But this pandemic sort of reset everything. And I believe that this pandemic should be an opportunity for our country to achieve SDG, but not just achieve SDG, but also let's look at healthcare, for instance. Today, when you go around the country, our primary healthcare centers are dilapidated. How are we going to achieve basic healthcare if we don't invest more in our healthcare? So for me, it's also using this pandemic to reflect and to say, what are the gaps, what are the opportunities, and how can we build more resilient, how can we build more partnership around achieving SDGs in Nigeria? Because Nigeria would inspire Africa to achieve the decade of action.
All right, I'll come back to you. Let me come back to Dr. Bala, who is in our Abuja studio. Doctor, speaking about what needs to be done moving forward, what is being proposed? Because, like you said earlier on, we need to do some more. So now the pandemic, at least we're gradually easing down the lockdown and all of the measures that we put in place to ensure that the spread doesn't go beyond where it is. But moving forward, what can be done, or what would be done differently to ensure that the SDGs are implemented on a national scale?
Okay, so thank you very much once again. And let me also thank my brother Hamza for raising that issue. There are strategic platforms established by the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President to fast-track the implementation of the SDGs in Nigeria. And one of them is the Private Sector Advisory Group on Sustainable Development Goals, which was inaugurated in 2017. And then we have the Civil Society Strategic Group on Sustainable Development Goals, as well as the Donors and Development Partners Forum. All these are strategic platforms meant to mobilize expertise and financial resources in support of the SDGs implementation in Nigeria. And specific to the health challenge that we have before us is to make sure that we increase investment, especially at the basic healthcare service delivery level, and that is at the local government level. Health is in the concurrent legislative list. That is primary healthcare and primary education, and the primary responsibility of the local governments. And is to make sure that the local government, the state, as well as the federal government worked together in harmony in ensuring that we have development planning that takes care of all these investments that are needed. But through this opportunity that the COVID-19 pandemic presents to us is that there's now more interest in the health sector. We have seen the United Nations coming with the one UN basket fund to support the healthcare system in Nigeria following the COVID. And also, so this is the sort of thing that we need, mass deployment of financial and human resources in support of healthcare delivery. And obviously, that will have spillover effect on all the other related SDGs. As you know, the SDGs are interconnected, interrelated. Often to make progress on one SDG, you need to make progress on a different target and a different goal. So that will help us to fast track the implementation. But we are on track in terms of the institutional frameworks that we've established within the first phase of the implementation, and that's the first 5 years. So we have similar institutional framework at the state, just like we have at the federal level. And the office itself intervenes in health and education.
Doctor, let me just hold you there for a minute. I'll come back to you just in a moment, but we need to go on a break, and then we'll come back to continue. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We still have with us our panelists from our Abuja studio as well as via Skype. And just before we went on that break, Dr. Bala Yusuf, the Senior Technical Advisor to the SSA, to the President on SDGs, was trying to make a statement on what the office is doing in terms of trying to complete the implementation of SDGs in the country. But Doctor, let me come back to you again. So looking at what you talked about now, the human capital that you need, or the human resource that you need, and also the material and financial as well. Is there any mechanism in place to track what you've been doing?
Okay, so we just last July, Nigeria presented its second voluntary national review to the United Nations Economic and Social Council under the auspices of the High-Level Political Forum, which is a review and an accountability mechanism put in place to hold member countries accountable for their commitment to the 2030 agenda. And that report highlighted not only the progress that we've made in terms of institutionalizing the SDGs in Nigeria, but also the challenges that we face along the 7 priority reporting SDGs, and which SDG 1 on no poverty, SDG 3 on quality health and well-being, SDG 4 on inclusive and qualitative education, SDG 5 on gender equality and women empowerment, and SDG 8 on decent job and economic growth, then 16 on strong institutions, peace and justice, as well as SDG 17 on the means of implementation. So that report catalog all that we've been able to achieve within the first 4 years of the implementation of the SDGs, and also where we should be heading towards. Broadly, we're not...
Just in wrapping up, where are we heading to? Let me pick you up on that.
Yeah, so we are already in the decade of action, and the SDGs, unlike the Millennium Development Goals, need to leave no one behind. So we need the expertise, the financial resources of all stakeholders, the organized private sector, the scientific community, the civil society, the donors and development partners, and also the concerned citizens in support of the implementation of the 2030 agenda and the SDGs. So no one can do it alone. Both the state and non-state actors, we need to work together, and that is what we've been working on, to ensure that all the key segments of the society are working together and understanding what we're doing, and obviously tracking progress as we move along. The office has just funded the National Bureau of Statistics to completely realign the national statistical system with the requirements and indicators of the SDGs, so that on an annual basis, we will be able to track progress or no progress in the implementation of the SDGs.
Okay, very well. Then I'll come back to you just in a bit. But let me quickly catch Hamza, who is joining us via Skype again from Yola. Hamza, like Dr. Yusuf has said, the annual report is out there, and he also just made mention of the statistics they made available to the National Bureau of Statistics. How impressed would you say you are with what is in that report?
I think Nigeria is one of the few countries that have made history in putting together this voluntary report and submitting it to the high-level panel. But in country, for me, we need to see more coordinated efforts, more interministerial effort, and how can various MDAs collaborate more and mainstream SDGs into their development plan. We need to also see more policy, particularly legislative policy, that mainstream SDG into our action plan. But how can we also localize SDGs? So, well, I'm aware that the Ministry of Finance, for instance, have over $6 million to provide stimulus or palliative for people that have been affected, and we need to also be conscious of the fact that over 40% of young people have lost their job during this pandemic, and we can achieve economic growth without creating sustainable jobs. But most importantly, we need to ensure that SDG Goal 16 that talks about peace, justice, and stronger institutions, because we can't keep having strong men and women rather than having strong institutions and ensuring accountability. But most importantly, Goal 17 that talks about partnership for the goal. We must see ourselves as equal partners towards achieving the SDG goal that ends hunger. In the Northeast, you have over 2 million people that have been displaced. You have a lot of people at the IDP camp. How are we ensuring that we mainstream SDGs into our humanitarian efforts? How are we ensuring that girls go to school and they're not abused? How are we ensuring that even during now that schools are closed, girls still get access to education, girls and boys get access to education, and are able to ensure that they meet their education needs and targets? Because for us to achieve SDGs, we must ensure that we curb inequality. And the fact that if children does not get educated, it's going to increase inequality in the country. So I believe, this pandemic have created a huge opportunity, but we must see it from that perspective, not a problem, but an opportunity where we can collaborate more and ensure that data always inform our policy and decision making around SDGs.
All right, very well. Hamza, thank you for joining us on the program. Hopefully, the SDGs or the year would be implemented as quicker as possible. But I have to say thank you for joining us on the program and sharing your thoughts. Hamza Lawal, you joined us from Yola, the Adamawa State capital.
Thank you, Victor.
You're welcome. But also Dr. Bala, who joined us from our Abuja studio. Thanks as well for joining us on the program And of course, again, hopefully you do all you can and all within your office to be able to implement the SDGs even after the COVID goes away. Thanks again for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much, Victor, for having me.
You're welcome. Let's now take a look at the most viewed videos on our YouTube channel in the past week.
The arrival of former Emir of Kano, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, to neighboring Kaduna State capital begins this week's most viewed videos. In fifth place, in fourth is the parade of suspected kidnappers and other suspected criminals in Calabar by the police. The attack on Borno governor's convoy on his way to Bama drops 2 spots to third place. Second sees former national chairman of the APC revealing what he discussed with President Buhari during a visit to the villa.
So first it was to appreciate the president leadership and to reassure him of my absolute loyalty, which is unconditional. Whether I am chairman, I'm not chairman. The most important thing is I am a loyal member of the All Progressive Congress. And I will always do everything I can to support the growth and development of the party. And of course, my absolute loyalty to the president as a person and to the government that he leads. The second was to have opportunity to give an update on what we are doing in Edo, and the campaigns are going well. The level of massive support is huge, and from my evaluation, share with him, I'm very confident that we will win the election hands down. There's no question about that, because Edo is basically APC state for APC. So I share all of this with Mr. President. And lastly, to say that the outgoing governor is talking more about violence. You must have watched him on Channel Television where he said he will meet violence for violence. And we are saying, no, there will be no violence. It will be like a celebrity Christmas.
While the heated arguments that ensued as Minister of Transportation was grilled over China loans takes the top spot.
This is rules which we obey from day one. I said, when you ask question with time, you answer the question directly. We wouldn't want to go from question.
Mr. Chairman, the implication of having a $3 billion contract is that I will have a large number of workers. Mr. Chairman, there is no $33 billion contract in Ministry of Transport. The what we have in Ministry of Transport is $1.6 billion contract awarded under President Buhari and an $800 million contract awarded by President Goodluck Jonathan.
And those were the movie videos on our YouTube channel in the past week. Thank you for watching. That's the program this week. I'm Victor Matthias. Bye for now.